Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Spirituality and Sustainability Summit. I have one of my all-time favorite Ayurvedic practitioner teachers with me today, Mr. Mas Vidal. And I met Mas, I guess it was like 3 years ago,
Hmm.
through the Soul of Yoga, and started helping you with your retreats at your home in Ojai. And yeah, just have loved being your friend and staying connected with you over the years. And I felt you were a necessary piece of this interview series, because when I sit in your sadhana practice, I feel like I don't even know how to explain it, that I just feel a connection with the divine when you lead it. And your knowledge and wisdom is really come close to my heart and helped me in my life and the way I walk on the planet. So thank you for being here, Mas Vidal.
Thank you. Nice to be here, Jenny, for making the effort to make the world a better place.
Yes, thank you. So, Mas, I mean, what do you like to call yourself? Ayurvedic practitioner, Vedic astrologer? Is there any other things that you feel encompass yourself in the work you do?
Yeah, I mean, yoga, Ayurveda, Vedanta, a little astrology. Ayurveda has always been the main
Mm,
system that has carried me in my work, even though at the heart, I've been a yogi, an aspirant for God's love, but it's being Ayurveda that has given me the most consistent voice in this world. And for some reason, that has been my role, I think. It seems like that's shaped my dharma. So yoga and Ayurveda together. But Vedanta is a foundation to that. Astrology has always fascinated me. So I bring a perspective, and the approach that I follow is that everything is important, and that
mm,
your evolution has to make everything important. Everything matters, and this is the basis for the Vedic tradition, is that it's a holistic approach. It's not just your diet. It's not just meditating, and no one thing alone is enough. You have to reform and revolutionize your entire life, and that's what happens. One thing may open the door, but that door opens you up to reforming your whole self. So something has to open the door. And for me, it was God's love initially, but then that opened up into a whole comprehensive, integral approach to wellness and lifestyle and, you know, well-being. So,
mm-hmm. I like that. There's one thing that opens the door for a lot of people. That could be they take their first yoga class, even, or
yeah.
um, they receive a Reiki treatment or something, and that can really open the door to a lot of things, and then a lot of other things shift. And when you say that was finding God's love, what was that in your life? I'd love to hear more about that. Was I know you're involved with SRF.
Yeah, I mean, initially, early on, it was, what is love? I questioned human love, what people call
Mm,
relationship love. I question that even to this day. I
mm,
don't truly feel that people understand what love is. As the great Swami Ram often said, he said, for most of the world, love is cupidity. You're struck by a little arrow, your hormones start moving, you get attached to loving this form. but then that form doesn't conform to your way of loving. And then you question and start criticizing, and then realize that that form is not giving you what you thought was love. And and so yoga initially for me was a way to discover that love is a relationship with God and all living things. As
Mm.
much as I fell in love with things, pretty things, I like pretty things, I realized that that's, a dead end. There's not real love. And so then coming across Yogananda's teachings, by no coincidence, those things don't just happen, that really launched the rocket to self-realization and to doing sadhana, and that's where it all began. That's what opened the door for me. Yogananda opened my heart through his teachings and through the devotion and his approach, and the way he lived in the world, and that was it. And then now it's a much more comprehensive life than just meditating. It is, it's very more integrated, you could say. You try to make everything spiritual, and the Purusharthas in the Vedic tradition talk about kama, artha, dharma, and moksha. That a balanced life must have these four aspects. And it's important that people realize that we have these four aspects. We have a practical side, we have an emotional side, or devotional, we have an intellectual side, we have a spiritual side. And one of those things may have initially opened the door, but then you have to develop these aspects of yourself to create an evolutionary life. And evolution then leads you to doing things not merely for money or for some monetary exchange, but you're doing things because it fuels your evolution. You realize that when you're helping somebody and you're doing this or working in cooking or working in whatever you choose, doesn't matter, that if it's helping other people, it's equally helping you. And
Mm.
that's what we call in English reciprocity. Dharma is a very powerful principle. It's profound, it's expansive. But in very basic terminology, it's reciprocity. People cannot continue to do things just to acquire things for themselves. They have to do things, and it's a give and take relationship with this world, and on all levels. And that's something that takes time to learn, and it takes a lot of tests. The world tests us, it challenges us. It takes things away from us, and then it gives things back to us. And that whole relationship that you're having with the world is trying to bring you back to one place, is to unified consciousness, back to God, and out of this illusion of what we call the world. So this is sadhana. To expand on that, in yoga, sadhana is simply, a series of practices that challenge you, that are difficult, where there is struggle. And it could be meditation, mantra, postures, service, doing things for your temple or working, whatever it is. And all of those things aim to purify you of the idea that you are doing it. Sadhana is designed to eradicate I. So as you're doing these things, you begin to realize that it is not you that there is a force that flows through you. And that force that comes through you is consciousness, pure consciousness. And it's not tainted with, greed or what do I need. It's just, you lose yourself and you realize that I need to do this. I need to help people. I need to do this work. It's more important to me than the money, than anything else. And then you lose the identity. And then in that practice, in that service, in that act, you begin to kill and eradicate ego, greed, consciousness, and then sadhana doesn't become merely sitting down and performing an action. Sadhana becomes everything that you do. Your
Mm.
whole thought process, all of your actions and your words become your sadhana. And then at the end of your life, God in consciousness looks at, well, let's add up all the numbers. Right now they're adding up the numbers for the votes and things like that. Well, God at the end says, we're going to add up the numbers and see if you get to perfect oneness. And
Mm.
at the end of your life, what you've accumulated the most of is what you become. And then that
Mhm.
influences your next life.
Mhm.
And so in some views, some people say, well, life seems very sad. It seems very tragic, Oppenheimer used to say. Yeah, it is, because you're learning to detach from the idea that the world is bringing you happiness. Most of the world is saying, enjoy the world, right? This is your happiness. But yoga is saying, no, your happiness is not coming from the world. It's coming from that force that sustains life and sustains all living things. It's what's behind that. And there's a
Mhm.
veil. And this whole process is about purifying that. Yeah, so there's a lot of detachment that's going on. There's a lot of simple living that's going on. A person in this path lives very differently and begins to question the material world. And to the outsider, that person seems odd. That person seems weird. They're going against the stream of the river. But there's something that's telling you got to keep going. And then the world says, no, come over here. This is
Yeah.
better. Do this. And then, no, you say no. And you try it. You turn and you try it for a month or 6 months or a year. And then you realize again. And then you come back. And then the world does that to us. It beats us up enough that you hopefully turn towards what is real. And that reality is that love and everything that you need is inside of you. And no one can give it to you. No one can fulfill that. It has to be found within your pure consciousness that is in the soul, the Jivatman. It's
Mm.
in us. It's your natural state. Nowhere to go, nothing to do. It's right there.
Yeah. Wow, right there.
Yeah.
Cool. I have one more question for you, Moss. How has your devotion to your sadhana and your Ayurvedic practice helped you really connect with the environment in nature? I know you love to go on hikes and be outside, and do you feel like that's been elevated for you since you've gotten into all the things you've been practicing in your life?
Oh, sure, sure. Yeah, I mean, that's continues to elevate, and nature begins to speak to you, and you realize that the trees have consciousness, animals also have consciousness. And
Mm.
so,
Hmm.
being in proximity to nature, being in relationship with nature is important. And that's not just being there. It's not merely just the mechanics of touching nature and bathing in the sun. Sure, that's one aspect of it. But there's a deeper aspect of that everything is living nature. And everything that happens to you and everything that you experience in the world is designed to teach you. It's consciousness communicating with you. And whenever we look at that, it's very important. You know, this is the basis for Vedantic philosophy and the Indian traditions, is that this is all an illusion. And it doesn't mean just give up and don't be responsible. No, quite the opposite. It means be responsible and recognize that you are responsible for your health. No government is going to give you that. No
Mm-hmm.
good new president is going to give you that. And anyone who lives with that identity is living in what I call poverty consciousness. You have some hope and some dream that is the world is going to provide for you, that your government, that something outside of you is going to save you. And this is the grand illusion. That's not real yoga. Yoga is being responsible for your health and taking an initiative and day-to-day practices that improve your immunity, improve your connection to your body, to food, to nature, and realize that. It's sad because we live in a world where more and more people want things done for them. They feel entitled that they should get this and that. And this is the travesty of this world. This is the travesty of what has happened with this idea of countries, governments. And we're losing our individuality. We're living like mechanical robots, and we're categorizing ourselves based on diseases, religions, cultures, and that's the demise of the self. You're
Mm-hmm.
losing your personal relationship with God. You're losing that by falling into that trap. And I have to say it's sad because I see California moving in that direction with more and more programs, dependency on the government should do this and that and take care of all aspects of our health and protect us. No, you are a warrior, and a yogi has to fight and defend himself and depend on no one. No one. At the end of the day, it's you alone. It's God alone. And it's you have to make the difference at the end of your life. You came in alone and you're going to leave alone.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to breed that. And I don't see that in the younger generations. I see a lot of lazy people. I see a lot of chronic problems and chronic disorders in this world. And a lot of people that just want things doled out for them. And this is a big trap. It's a big trap again of Maya. And,
Yeah.
here it is where, everything's going to be provided for you and everything's going to be perfect and everyone's going to follow all the rules and all the laws. And it's not the way life goes, and especially not a yogic warrior, because you're here to break that dependency. You're here to show God that you don't need anything or anyone except Him.
Mm-hmm.
And so I hope that our California conscious community cultivates more of that identity, less judgment, less criticism around that there is only one way to be healthy. There's only one way to, you know, God and realization. No, that's the whole basis of our these lineages. And why I rely on the Vedic tradition is because there is no culture, there is no civilization, there's no grand teaching that is still intact today except the Vedic wisdom. It's not only intact, but it's in renaissance. And we
Mm-hmm.
need a new relationship with nature. And what Ayurveda and the great Vedantic Vedic traditions teach us is that you're issue here. The power went out.
All good. I can edit this part, so it's all good.
Oh, okay, good. Okay, I'm glad that you're an editor and you can salvage the discussion.
Yes, it's all good. um, okay. I don't know if you want to end what you were chatting about, but
Well, the so the last point that I was making is that, this work is about changing your culture, is how you live on the planet.
mm,
And culture is basically living with nature. And American culture is very far away from recognizing, you know, evolution through how you live. We're seeing that a little bit through Save the Planet and idea of, greenhouse emissions and the planet's getting warmer, and suddenly now people care about the earth. But they're missing something, that ecology without spirituality is another illusion, because
No.
you're trying to save the earth, and there's nothing to save. The earth, you can't save the earth. The earth isn't going anywhere. What you're
Mm.
trying to do is save your own life and your chances of evolving. There's nothing to save. The world's not going anywhere. And so this is another illusion, and now another fabrication of government, that we have to save the planet. My hope is that if people do begin to care more about the planet, that ultimately that will turn into recognizing that nature is divine, and what you're trying to do is salvage your own evolution rather than regression, which is what we see not completely in the world. We're in a progressive state. Astrologically, the world is moving in an upward direction, but that's happens very slowly, and many people are resisting that. So this is more my interest, as much as I enjoy helping one person in an individual consultation and improving their diet. I'm more interested in influencing people on a grander scale and trying to do things. And this is typical with anyone that's been doing this work for a number of years and decades. You want to have a bigger impact on the world. And that's where I'm focusing more of my direction on
Mm-hmm.
uh, you know, larger ways to impact the world. So,
Yeah. So, can you tell us about that? Tell us about your larger ways you are impacting the world. Um,
well, one is we last year I launched an Ayurvedic, basically a yoga Ayurveda superstore. It's a
yes.
series of products for yogis for sadhana.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, the highest level, prime level products for evolutionary living, for people that want to evolve, people that want to live. I'm mainly themed after me. I'm very much drawn to that, and how can I get the most out of life, and herbal products, and our products are done in India, organic, and all of that. I have another book coming out
Great.
called Yoga, Ayurveda, and the Evolution Revolution, which is
Amazing.
to expand on the idea of the four yogas and explain the concept of evolution and how to apply that concept in a more comprehensive way, rather than looking at scientific aspects of the Industrial Revolution, the scientific revolution, cognitive revolution, and these revolutions. Well, the theme of it is that we're in an evolution revolution. People want to evolve. And what is evolution? My
Mm-hmm.
first book asked the question, what is health? And I defined that. This book asks the question, what is success? True
Yes.
success is living an evolutionary life. And so that book will be out next year. And, uh, and then my work continues, doing more work in food and different ventures with food, both food products, restaurant endeavors, and things like this, because I feel that diet is one of the biggest ways to impact the world. And if we can get people to eat better, we can truly change and improve many of the things that we're seeing in this world. Many of the problems of this world can be corrected with diet alone. And my Ayurvedic clinical practice and counseling and astrology practice continues. I'm doing that. Each week I see a number of clients, and we have programs, Ayurveda and yoga programs, Vedic counseling programs. These are programs that I've been running for decades now. And they're the original programs. Before that, there weren't Ayurveda yoga programs. So these are the original programs that have fortunately keep putting tofu in a nice meal on my plate every night.
That's amazing, Moss.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So lots of things. The product line, which I've had, the chai. It's amazing.
Chai is one
And
of
the
our big sellers. Yeah, Chavanprash.
Prash.
Yeah,
Yes. Beautiful. And then another book coming out. And then you have individual consults and Ayurvedic programs going on. So there's a lot of opportunity to get to know you and um, read your knowledge and wisdom. I want to thank you for taking the time to do this today. It was really enlightening for me, and I hope everyone listening.
great.
So,
Thank you.
yes,
And yes, check out the website, dancingshiva.com and
DancingShiva.com.
morelifemarket.com. And there's hopefully there plenty to inspire. So thank you,
Beautiful.
Jenny, for doing your part in the world and coming up with creative ideas to inspire and help people. Every little bit helps. If one person is changed by this, you've done your karma yoga.
That's my karma yoga.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mas.
Thank you.